Austen's works are lighthearted and humorous, filled with comedic conflicts. However, she never married and supported herself as a writer within an ordinary gentry family. In her stories, she used love and marriage to express her personal expectations and social ideals. At the time, she was largely an anonymous and vulnerable writer, and her works reflected the main family and social moral standards of her era. This led her books to be viewed as popular novels rather than serious literature. She died peacefully at age 41 after a serious illness. Only in the 20th century was she recognized as a writer whose status was on par with Shakespeare. In 2013, to mark the 200th anniversary of the publication of her Pride and Prejudice, her portrait was featured on the new £10 banknote, honoring this woman who upheld noble ideals amid life's everyday realities. Biography. Jane Austen was born on December 16, 1775, in Steventon, Hampshire, England. She was the seventh of 8 children in her family. Her father, George Austen, was a clergyman who valued education and encouraged his children to read and learn. Her mother, Cassandra Lee Austen, was known for her wit and storytelling, traits that Jane inherited. The Austens were not wealthy, but they lived comfortably. Jane was educated at home and briefly attended boarding school. Her education focused on literature, history, and languages, sparking her lifelong love of writing. From an early age, Jane began crafting stories, poems, and plays to entertain her family. These early works, known as her juvenilia, showcase her sharp wit and creative imagination. Jane had 6 brothers and 1 sister, Cassandra, who was her closest companion. The 2 sisters shared a deep bond, exchanging letters throughout their lives. Jane never married, but her family's lively home environment and the relationships she observed around her greatly influenced her writing. When Austen was 20, Tom Lefroy, a neighbor, visited Steventon. Lefroy and Austen would have been introduced at a ball or other neighborhood social gathering, and it is clear from Austen's letters to Cassandra that they spent considerable time together. I am almost afraid to tell you how my Irish friend and I behaved. Imagine to yourself everything most profligate and shocking in the way of dancing and sitting down together. It is clear that Austen was genuinely attracted to Lefroy, and subsequently, none of her other suitors ever quite measured up to him. The Lefroy family intervened and sent him away. Marriage was impractical, as both Lefroy and Austen must have known. Neither had any money. She wrote to her sister that she had tea with one of his relatives, wanted desperately to ask about him, but could not bring herself to raise the subject. Her love is gone forever. After her father retired in 1801, the family moved to Bath, a city that would later appear in her novels. Following her father's death in 1805, Jane, her mother, and Cassandra faced financial difficulties and moved several times before settling in a small cottage in Chawton, Hampshire, in 1809. It was in Chawton that Jane revised and completed most of her famous works, which focus on boys and girls, gentlemen and ladies, love and marriage in the countryside of her time. Although Austen's characters are fictional, they all mirror her own views on marriage and love. The social, economic, and political changes of Austen's time affected all social classes. The perspectives on marriage and love held by the rural aristocracy and young landowners reflected some of the ideas about humanity and human nature that emerged after the Renaissance. For example, Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice fully embodies the marriage ideal Austen aimed for. In her relationship with Darcy, Elizabeth supported the principle of gender equality, rejecting traditional male superiority and believing that noble emotions are a normal human need. Furthermore, Austen's ideal marriage, in addition to equality and respect, also included freedom and understanding. She hoped to help people break free from the constraints of traditional thinking, allowing them to find and realize themselves. Jane Austen's life and writings continue to inspire and captivate readers around the world. Her keen observations, timeless characters, and sharp wit have secured her place as one of the greatest authors in English literature. By exploring her life, works, anecdotes, and controversies, we gain a deeper appreciation for her unique talent and enduring legacy. For young readers, Jane Austen's stories offer a delightful glimpse into the past while addressing themes that remain relevant today. Main works. Jane Austen's novels are celebrated for their clever plots, engaging characters, and insightful commentary on society. These novels are set in the early 19th century and reflect the social norms and expectations of that time. They are filled with humor, romance, and sharp critiques of societal issues like class distinctions and the role of women. Austen's works are lighthearted and humorous, filled with comedic conflicts. Since Austen spent her entire life in the countryside, her social circle was small. The story mainly focuses on social interactions and daily conversations of ladies and gentlemen, yet it subtly reveals different aspects of society at that time through simple scenes. It employs humorous language to satirize greed and vanity. Through comedic scenes, it mocks people's foolishness, selfishness, snobbery, and overconfidence, these contemptible yet amusing flaws. Some critics argue that Jane Austen's novels focus too narrowly on the lives of the English gentry and overlook larger societal issues, such as the Napoleonic Wars and the abolition of the slave trade in her era. However, supporters claim that her detailed portrayal of daily life makes her work universally relatable. She crafted many ideal and positive icons from her lost love and from an ordinary, brief life. These debates highlight the complexity of her work and the multiple ways it can be interpreted. Sense and Sensibility tells the story of two sisters, Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood. The sisters navigate love and heartbreak while trying to find their place in society. The novel explores the balance between reason, sense, and emotion, sensibility. Pride and Prejudice is perhaps her most famous work. This novel follows Elizabeth Bennet as she deals with issues of class, marriage, and personal growth. The romance between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy has captivated readers for centuries. Mansfield Park focuses on Fanny Price, a shy and intelligent young woman who is sent to live with her wealthy relatives. The story explores themes of morality, social class, and family dynamics. Emma is about a wealthy, headstrong young woman, Emma Woodhouse, who enjoys matchmaking for others but is blind to her own feelings. This humorous and insightful novel examines self-discovery and the complexities of relationships. Northanger Abbey is a playful satire of Gothic novels. This story follows Catherine Morland, a young woman with an overactive imagination, as she learns to distinguish fantasy from reality. Posthumously published. Persuasion is her final completed novel, posthumously published. It is a poignant tale of second chances. It follows Elliot, who reconnects with a former love after years of separation.